Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing my August wrap-up. I'm so happy to be doing this wrap-up because it means autumn is officially here, at least for me it is. And yeah, let's just get started with the wrap-up. So I read 7 books in August. My goal was to read 9 books, but I kind of fell into a bit of a reading slump towards the end, but I'm still happy with 7 books. So the first one I read was Ouija by Katherine Turner. This book follows a girl called Lainey, and her best friend Debbie starts acting really weird one day and then just suddenly commits suicide. Lainey and her friends are trying to figure out why Debbie did this out of the blue, and they end up discovering that Debbie had been playing with a Ouija board, and they think that had something to do with her suicide. So this is just one of those small little thriller horror books, and these can be hit or miss. Like, I read House at the End of the Street last year and I really enjoyed that one. It was nothing amazing, but it entertained me enough to get like a 4-star rating. This one I ended up giving 2 stars. I didn't care for any of the characters in this book, not just that you couldn't really connect with them because the story is kind of short, but also I just didn't like any of them. Like, I especially hated Lainey's boyfriend. I just didn't think they were very likable characters. Also, there was so much creepy stuff happening so often throughout this book that I felt like it was a little bit overdoing it and it made it not scary. So I don't know, this was a bit of a dud, but yeah. So then I listened to the audiobook of The Princess Diarist by Carrie Fisher. I read the physical edition of this book a couple months ago and I absolutely loved it, gave it 5 out of 5 stars, but the audiobook, which was read by Carrie Fisher, was 10 times better. There was just something about hearing Carrie Fisher read the words where you could just feel like the emotion in them, and I absolutely loved it. I would totally recommend, even if you have read this book, to go and listen to the audiobook because it was so good. Next I read Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second and final book in the Six of Crows duology, and I gave this book 4.5/5 stars because this book was so good. Much like the first book, I did have a bit of a problem with the plot because it is so complex that I often found myself just being kind of confused with not just the plot but also still the world a little bit. But the characters are just so good in this duology. I love them so much. They're definitely some of my all-time favorite characters now, and I would love if we could get another 7-book series following these characters because that would be so good. Then I read All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven, and I also gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. So this follows 2 teenagers. The first one is Theodore Finch, and he is fascinated by death. Every day he thinks of ways he might die, but every day he wakes up and finds something worth living for. Then we follow a girl called Violet, and she lives for the future. She's counting down the days until graduation when she can escape her small town, and these 2 characters end up meeting at the top of a bell tower, and they end up saving each other. So as I said, I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely adored this story and these characters. I loved Finch's character. He's not your typical, depressed teenager. He makes jokes and stuff, and you just wouldn't think that he's the kind of person who would be like that. But I found his character to actually be very relatable. Violet's character sometimes fell a little bit flat for me, but I still enjoyed her character. And I don't want to give away any spoilers, but I don't know why, but it never occurred to me until halfway through the book that it would end the way it did. For some reason I thought the story was going to go in a completely different direction. Either way, it broke my little heart, and I absolutely love this story and I would highly recommend to pick it up. Then I read The Naturals and Killer Instinct, both by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and this is book 1 and 2 in the Naturals series. I'm planning on doing a full series review for this, so I'm not going to talk too much about it here, but this is basically a YA version of Criminal Minds or any kind of crime show. This follows a girl called Casey, and she's a profiler. She can just look at a way a person is dressed or talking or acting or whatever, and she can profile them. So she is recruited by the FBI to join this program for teenagers who have these kind of abilities. I gave The Naturals 3.5 stars and I gave Killer Instinct 4 stars. We'll tell you now, spoiler alert, I already finished the series and the books progressively get better, but I'll be honest, I almost DNF'd The Naturals. The first 100 pages in, it almost felt like my least favorite fantasy trope, where it's the training trope where they have to train in fighting or magic or something for the big battle at the end. And there was a point of this where they were training them in profiling and stuff like that, and I was just ugh, this is so boring. and then it quickly picked up the pace and it was really interesting. And then the final book that I read in August was City of a Thousand Dolls by Miriam Forster. The plot of this book is a little bit complicated, so I'm going to try my best to explain it. So this takes place in a fictional world, and we follow our main character called Nisha or Nisha. I don't know exactly how to pronounce her name, but when she was 6 years old, she was left outside of a City of a Thousand Dolls, which is basically like an orphanage for girls where they are trained in different kind of arts like beauty or dancing or music or healing, and then when they're 16 they go to, I can't remember what it's called now. Okay, I think it's called the Redeeming. So they're trained in these different kind of arts, and then when they're 16 they go to the Redeeming where people can buy them to be apprentices or wives or basically anything. And suddenly these girls are being found dead, and our main character, who is the assistant of the woman who runs this whole city, is told to try and find out why these girls are dying. This book quickly went from being a 4-star to like a 1-star. I started off really enjoying the story. It was nothing amazing. The plot and the characters weren't anything extraordinary, but it kept me entertained enough that I thought I was going to be giving it a 4 stars. But then something happened about 100 pages from the end where I wanted to DNF the book right there. Like, I think it was only like 70 pages from the end and I wanted to DNF it, which never usually happens, but that almost happened. I don't want to give any spoilers away to exactly what made me want to DNF it, but I will tell you that it was the love interest. So our main character is in this forbidden romance with the son of a noble family who's really favored by the emperor, and this whole world is in like a caste system, so he's really high up there and she's like a nobody, so they have to keep it a secret that they're together. And the love interest is only in this story like 4 times, and like I said, only like 70 pages from the ending he did something that was so stupid and was only done to create conflict in the plot, and I just absolutely hated that. In the end, I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars because towards the beginning I was enjoying it, I was entertained, I was gonna give it 4 stars, and then it just ruined it for me. So yeah. So these are all the books that I read in August. As per usual, leave me a comment down below and let me know what your favorite book was that you read in August. Mine was probably All the Bright Places. I'm sorry if this video was kind of all over the place. I am having a very hard time like putting my words together and just forming my thoughts into words, so I feel like I was kind of all over the place and wasn't very clear with the summaries and my reviews. So yeah, sorry about that, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!